From LPM,
Louisville Public Media.
In honor of Military Appreciation Month, Verizon thought of a lot of different ways we could show our appreciation, like rolling out the red carpet, giving you your own personal marching band, or throwing a bumping shindig. At Verizon, we're doing all that in the form of special military offers. That's why, this month only, we're giving military and veteran families a $200 Verizon gift card and a phone on us with a select trade-in and a new line on select unlimited plans. Think of it as our way of flying a squadron of jets overhead while launching fireworks. Now that's what we call a celebration, because we're proud to serve you. Visit your local Verizon store to learn more. $200 Verizon gift card requires smartphone purchase $799.99 or more with new line on eligible plan. Gift card sent within 8 weeks after receipt of claim. Phone offer requires $799.99 purchase with new smartphone line on Unlimited Ultimate or Postpaid Unlimited Plus. Minimum plan $80 a month with autopay plus taxes and fees for 36 months. Less $800 trade-in or promo credit applied over 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in must be from Apple, Google, or Samsung. Trade-in and additional terms apply.
Welcome to It Takes Energy, presented by Energy Transfer, where we talk all things oil and natural gas. Oil and gas drive our economy, ensure our country's security, and open pathways to brighter futures. The U.S. produces 13 million barrels of crude oil every day, enough to fill 800 Olympic swimming pools. But what is that oil used for? The gas we put in our cars is just the beginning. Nearly 50% of each barrel is refined into gasoline. Another 34% is refined into fuels like diesel and jet fuel, and the rest is used to make more than 96% of our everyday essentials, like the tennis shoes you wear, the cell phone you rely on, and medicines that help save lives. Look around, and you'll see the essential role oil and gas plays in our modern lives. Our world needs oil and gas, and people rely on us to deliver it. To learn more, visit ittakes.energy.com.
Welcome to On Track. I'm Aisha Jaffer. Summer is the perfect time to lose yourself in a good book. Whether you're stretched out at the park, taking a break from the heat, or just looking for a little escape. And if you're wondering what to read next, who better to ask than your local librarians? Today, we're getting the inside scoop and some recommended reads from two experts at the Louisville Free Public Library. Jenny Lewis is the branch manager of the Louisville Free Public Library in Middletown. She loves spooky mysteries, nonfiction histories, and anything with a happily ever after. Jenny, welcome to On Track.
Thank you for having me.
We're also joined by Jody Hampton, content manager at Louisville Free Public Library. He has worn many hats during his 15 years with the library system, from branch manager to main library supervisor. Today, he oversees the team that selects, purchases, and catalogs the books that fill the library's shelves. Jody, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So with summer almost here, where do you think are some of the best places in the city to cozy up with a good book? I'll start with you, Jenny.
Oh, I love to read by the pool. That's my favorite place to read, just to be outside, have a nice breeze and a book in my hand. It's perfect.
That sounds like paradise. How about you, Jody?
Well, my favorite place in Louisville is the Cave Hill Cemetery, and I love to go there and, look at the beautiful trees and the mausoleums and all of the great statuary, and just kind of hang out in a respectful way.
Yeah.
But I would love to read there, and of course Cherokee Park.
Obviously. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. So great outdoor spots, which is perfect backdrop to whatever world you're about to dive into. And that kind of gets me to this. What really makes a book a good summer read? Do we tend to gravitate toward a different type of book in the summertime?
I think so. I think we're all chasing that childhood summer reading experience, or at least I know I am. I remember having those kind of unstructured days and being able to go to the library and just check out stacks of like Nancy Drew and Boxcar Children and Babysitter's Club. And I think I still want that summer break book that just kind of pulls me in and really has me staying up late at night, turning the pages and escaping.
I love that.
Yeah, the book that, you read the first sentence or the first page and you cannot stop. And but you're busy in the summer and you're at the beach and you put it down and go jump in the water or take care of the kids or whatever. And you can pick it right back up and you're there again immediately. And it doesn't take a whole lot of, extra thought, even though some of our books are going to be thought-provoking.
Yes.
So it's a true escape.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think I remember as a kid doing those choose your own adventure books because you could just come back and go on a new adventure.
Those are
It's
great.
so much fun. So what are some of the upcoming releases you're excited about for the summer?
Well, so I've got a list, of course. Being a librarian, I'm very list heavy, and I think we both do. So I'm just going to say the first one on my list has already been out for a minute, but it's called The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, and he is a wonderful writer of spooky type stories. And he wrote a book a few years ago, a novel called The Only Good Indians, and this is a book that's a diary, written as a diary, written in 1912 by a Lutheran pastor that is discovered within a wall. And what it unveils is a slow massacre, a chain of events that go back to 217 dead Native Americans in the snow. So it's kind of told as transcribed interviews, and it's going to be super spooky. And I do like the spooky story in the summertime. So I'm looking forward to reading that one.
Perfect for the Cave Hill spot, honestly.
Exactly right, yes. So, Jenny, do you want to go?
Yeah, so I'll go a little bit lighter with my first pick. I would say the new Emily Henry that just came out, Great Big Beautiful Life. It is a romance novel, but it's also tells the story of a famous American family. It is a woman who's been a recluse for many years, but kind of grew up in a very famous family. And these two rival journalists are fighting over who gets to write her biography. Emily Henry says she was inspired partly by the Kennedys, but also by the Taylor Swift song, The Last Great American Dynasty. So it's very wistful. It's a great book to read on the beach. All those elements are there for that one.
It's very relatable to our industry. Who gets to write the bio?
Yeah.
You got a few more, Jody?
I do. I've actually got a couple bios. So one is Jeremy Renner, the actor's biography has come out. And you may not know, but he almost died in January of 2023, being run over by his own snowplow at his home in Lake Tahoe, clearing some snow. And I think it broke like 32 of his bones. And he says in this new memoir that he actually saw the light and, had that kind of near-death experience. So this book is written by him, and it's actually, the audiobook is narrated by him, and I love a good memoir that is narrated by the person. It's awesome. And then Ron Chernow has the new biography of Mark Twain, and you might recognize him. He actually wrote the biography of Alexander Hamilton that became Hamilton, that we all love. So,
which I just found out is a summer read, like that. Lynn, he was reading that like on his summer vacation, and it inspired Hamilton.
Some people like
to each his own.
Yeah, exactly.
To each his own.
I mean, biographies are cool. I mean, if the person is pretty interesting,
might
why
inspire
not?
you,
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
What about you, Jenny? A few more?
Yeah, absolutely. So Taylor Jenkins Reid, who is a perpetual favorite, she did Daisy Jones and the Six. She has a new one coming out called Atmosphere. That's about the 1980s space shuttle program. And I think that one's going to be hugely popular. Kind of also in that fun summer reading vein, maybe. Catabasis is coming out in August, and that's by R.F. Kuang, and she wrote Yellowface and Babel, and that one's going to be like a big sprawling fantasy. So that's a really good one to lose yourself in at the end of the summer.
Are there any local authors that have some releases for the summer that you're excited about?
Well, funny you should mention that. I've actually, yes. So Sarah Landenwich is a first-time author. She lives in Louisville. She's an educator, and she's a classically trained pianist. And she is coming out with a book on June 10th called The Fire Concerto, which is a kind of historical fiction about a concert pianist who is injured in a fire and can no longer play. And then she gets an unexpected inheritance, an ornate 19th century metronome that turns out to have a very interesting history and mysterious history. So Sarah Landenwich, shout out to her. And then we have a local author who actually owns a bookstore in Louisville on Barrett Avenue called Butcher Cabin Books. Jenny Kiefer owns that bookstore with her mother. and it's awesome. You should definitely go there. So she came out with a book January of last year called This Wretched Valley, which is about a climber who finds this really interesting and mysterious large rock to climb in somewhere near Winchester, Kentucky. And so her and her her friends who go to discover this rock and do some scientific readings on it while she's climbing it, terrible things happen to them. It's a great book. And it has been nominated for a Bram Stoker Award as the best debut fiction in kind of that mystery horror kind of genre. So she is coming out with a new book, not in the summer, but I wanted to include her. It's in October. It's called Crafting for Sinners, and it is about a woman who goes back to her small hometown in Kentucky, Kill Devil, I think is what she called it, and through various circumstances gets trapped in a craft store that turns out to be run by evil Christian cultists who then are trying to kill her, and she's trying to survive and get out to survive the night.
Oh my goodness.
It's like Grady Hendrix vibes.
Exactly. So Grady Hendrix has a book called The Horror Store, which is about like an IKEA where kind of the same thing happens. So, but anyway, I mean, I think we should definitely support our local authors. So look for Sarah and Jenny's books when they come out. And I will say that all of these titles will live on our social media. We'll put them out. And so I know when I'm listening to a podcast and driving, and I'm like, if I could only stop and write them down. So we'll have these titles out.
Very cool. Well, you've talked about a few books. Now I'm curious of what might be the blockbuster books of the summer.
Glad you asked. We've got a couple that I think are going to be really popular. So an author that Jody and I both love is S.A. Cosby. He has a new one coming out called King of Ashes. It's a family saga set in the American South, and it's about a family who ends up kind of owing the criminal underworld something. His books are great. They're that thriller meets literary fiction. I think that one's going to be really popular.
I love that. Any other blockbusters that you expect that maybe are already out even and flying off the shelves or expected to?
Well, so Taylor Jenkins Reid has got a new book coming out here in about a month, and she did Daisy Jones and the Six, which was made into a show on Amazon, I think.
Yeah.
And that was hugely popular. So her new book is called Atmosphere, and it's takes place in 1980, another kind of historical fiction. And it's about a astronomy professor who joins the NASA's space shuttle program, where she finds passion and a love she never imagined.
Well, I know this is a blockbuster because now you both mention it. And space.
Oh, wait, did you just mention that already? I'm so sorry.
Well, space is the place. I get it. I'm obsessed with space, so for me, I'm already hooked, and I'm excited about that.
New Stephen King out this summer as well for people who liked Holly. He's got another one about her called Never Flinch.
Wow.
That's probably going to be a blockbuster.
Oh, my goodness. Anything Stephen King, I feel like.
Oh, for
usually.
sure. For sure.
We got a lot of good spooky reads for your cemetery spot, honestly.
Yeah, I have a type for sure that I like. Definitely.
Well, Pride Month is also coming up. Do you have any great LGBTQ plus reads to recommend?
Well, actually, Crafting for Sinners by Jenny Kiefer, bringing it back, is the protagonist identifies as a queer woman, so can go in for Pride Month.
And it doesn't have to be new necessarily, but maybe something to return to.
That is a great question. And of course, I'm blanking on.
We can
right
come
now.
back to it unless, Jenny, you have something.
I had it at the tip of my tongue and it just flittered away. Give me a second.
No worries. We can return back to that.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing that's happening in the summer is Juneteenth. It's around the corner. Are there any books you'd recommend that help readers of any age really better understand Black history, freedom, and the ongoing fight for justice?
I actually do have a few. So along the same lines what I'm talking about, there's a movie out now called Sinners, which takes place in the Jim Crow South, and it's great movie. But there is kind of a subgenre of horror fiction that kind of takes place in the Jim Crow South, and there's a book called Ring Shout, by P. Jelly Clark, that is about when the book the movie Birth of a Nation came out. It turns out that it's actually a magical device that makes people kind of turn into these horrible Ku Klux Klan monsters. And so it's about the people who are fighting them. And so it takes place in 1920. And D.W. Griffith, who directed that film, actually grew up in LaGrange, Kentucky, which is near where I'm from. And then there's a book called Lovecraft Country that was made into an HBO series a couple years ago. Yes, wonderful. But it was a book first, and it is about kind of a family looking for their patriarch. And, it's a man who wrote kind of the equivalent of the Green Book guides for African Americans, when they wanted to travel in the segregationist era and where safe places were, but they run into all kinds of Lovecraftian kind of weirdness. So, those are two books.
I will also toss out something for Heather McGee. I just heard her on a podcast, and she wrote a book called The Sum of Us. It's nonfiction, and it's about sort of choices that were made in America over the last, 50 or 60 years, kind of how we got to now, and understanding some of the divides in this country. It's a really great book. She's a great writer.
Another thing about this year that's kind of special, too, it's the 100th anniversary of The Great Gatsby, a novel that's partly inspired by Louisville and the Seelbach Hotel. Do you think that a local connection gives it new relevance as a summer read, especially here in Kentucky?
Absolutely. So in the book, if you're not familiar with the book, it's about a man named Nick Carraway who has come back from World War I, and he's kind of disillusioned. And this is during the Roaring '20s, and everybody's in the stock market and everything's going great. And so he moves to Long Island and meets Jay Gatsby, who is also extremely disillusioned man who is pining over Daisy Buchanan, who was a wealthy young woman from Louisville, Kentucky, in the book. And, it's kind of about, what is it all for? What does everything mean, when you just kind of, your life is based on, just money and having things, which we can really relate to 100 years later. And I think that people can read this now and still get something out of it, for sure.
I love that. I mean, I feel like the city's been celebrating, so I couldn't not ask about it, honestly. And the space itself, beautiful and inspirational, I understand. Well, and speaking of classics, I mean, are there any classic books you think are especially worth revisiting this summer? Like stories that feel newly relevant or surprisingly resonant in today's world?
My kids and I have been, or my daughter and I have been reading for the first time, the Ramona books by Beverly Cleary. And I am amazed at how beautifully those books have aged. I think Ramona is timeless story for girls everywhere, and just something that's a really, great thing for girls to kind of see themselves in, because Ramona's, she's not perfect. She makes mistakes. She is mean to her sister, and, who can't relate to all of that? So I think a lot of the children's classics really hold up.
Oh, I love that.
I agree. So it's the 20th anniversary of a book called Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. And you might, he wrote, I'll remember in a minute. But anyway, so this 20 years on, it was a movie with Keira Knightley and Andrew Garfield and the third woman who's also a big star who I can't think of. But its 20th anniversary. Ishiguro won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2018. It's a beautiful, moving, and really heartbreaking story about these friends who meet in boarding school and kind of what happened to them then, and then they meet later, years later, and how they've changed. And it's really kind of resonates now with, people who are reaching a certain age and looking back. And also it's got some an interesting twist that you may not see coming.
Oh, right. Well, don't tell us anything.
No, I will not.
I will also say we've had a lot of people coming in to get The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn because James, by Percival Everett, just won I believe the Pulitzer.
Yes.
And so people are brushing up on their Twain before they jump into James.
Yeah, I remember that being one of my favorite classics growing up. Yes. Well, we'll be back with more after the break. You're on track with Louisville Public Media.
In honor of Military Appreciation Month, Verizon thought of a lot of different ways we could show our appreciation, like rolling out the red carpet, giving you your own personal marching band, or throwing a bumping shindig. At Verizon, we're doing all that in the form of special military offers. That's why, this month only, we're giving military and veteran families a $200 Verizon gift card and a phone on us with a select trade-in and a new line on select unlimited plans. Think of it as our way of flying a squadron of jets overhead while launching fireworks. Now that's what we call a celebration, because we're proud to serve you. Visit your local Verizon store to learn more. $200 Verizon gift card requires smartphone purchase $799.99 or more with new line on eligible plan. Gift card sent within 8 weeks after receipt of claim. Phone offer requires $799.99 purchase with new smartphone line on Unlimited Ultimate or Postpaid Unlimited Plus. Minimum plan $80 a month with autopay plus taxes and fees for 36 months. Less $800 trade-in or promo credit applied over 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in must be from Apple, Google, or Samsung. Trade-in and additional terms apply.
Welcome to It Takes Energy, presented by Energy Transfer, where we talk all things oil and natural gas. Oil and gas drive our economy, ensure our country's security, and open pathways to brighter futures. The U.S. produces 13 million barrels of crude oil every day, enough to fill 800 Olympic swimming pools. But what is that oil used for? The gas we put in our cars is just the beginning. Nearly 50% of each barrel is refined into gasoline. Another 34% is refined into fuels like diesel and jet fuel, and the rest is used to make more than 96% of our everyday essentials, like the tennis shoes you wear, the cell phone you rely on, and medicines that help save lives. Look around, and you'll see the essential role oil and gas plays in our modern lives. Our world needs oil and gas, and people rely on us to deliver it. To learn more, visit ittakes.energy.com.
Welcome back to On Track. I'm Aisha Jaffer. Today we are getting summer reading recommendations from two librarians at the Louisville Free Public Library. Jenny Lewis is a branch manager at Middletown, and Jody Hampton is the content manager for the library. So we're talking about all these different reads for the summer. Just wanted to return back if you have any LGBTQ plus reads.
Yeah, so this is another local author, actually, Jamie D'Amato, and she has one coming out called The Good Vampire's Guide to Blood and Boyfriends.
Nice.
Super cute. It's actually a YA novel, so older teens. It's kind of billed as Heartstopper meets Buffy, which I love.
I love that, too. Well, and I'm curious, actually, if you do have any suggestions for young readers during the summer to kind of keep it fun and consistent and continue to educate and enthrall yourself in literary fun.
Yeah. So Rick Riordan has a whole series of books that he has his Percy Jackson series, of course, but then there are a lot of other books that he has an imprint, authors that he has kind of pushed to the forefront. And one of those is a book called Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. And that is a blend of like Southern, like Black folklore and mythology. That's really fun. It's a great audiobook, too, if you're taking a car trip and you want to listen to something. That one's really great.
As an audio person, I'm really enjoying some of these audio narrative suggestions. Jody?
So actually, I actually wrote it down. I love audiobooks as well. I listen to them in the car constantly or doing housework. And they're the hottest thing, really, as far as library materials. People love them. We can't spend enough money on them. So some of my favorites, so I actually sometimes look for the narrator, for the reader, regardless of what they're reading. So John Lee narrating a book called The Terror by Dan Simmons is awesome. That was actually also made into like a TV show on AMC. And Jim Dale narrating all of the Harry Potter books. He, I think, set a Guinness World Record with the most different voices in a book, and he not only won the Audie Award, which is the audiobook award, but he won, I believe, a Grammy
Wow.
for his work. So he narrates the entire series. They're amazing. And then Philip Pullman is an author who wrote the his Dark Materials series, The Golden Compass and Amber Spyglass. He reads his own books, and he has a wonderful resonant English accent, which is cool too. So those are some good audiobooks.
Now, I've actually noticed that Louisville seems to have a growing literary scene. I've seen new bookstores popping up. I even saw independent bookstore Passport earlier this month to engage the community. What do you both think makes Louisville such a strong book town?
Well, we have a history, of authors. I mean, Hunter Thompson, of course, whose mother worked for the main library back in the 1950s. But, and again, I think that being a river town, being a crossroads of America for a long time, kind of lend itself, to, people kind of coming through. Our University of Louisville is extremely old. It started in like 1796, which is amazing. So, we've had and always had a great art scene here as well.
Spalding's got that really strong MFA program.
That's correct.
And the library's been here since 1903, 1904.
Right, exactly. We have a
really
wonderful
strong
library
public library system.
That is correct. And, and we're supported. The art scene is supported. The Fund for the Arts is very well supported. Our library budget, the mayor has put in an additional $1 million of matching funds into the budget for materials so we can buy more books and audiobooks coming up in the new fiscal year. So I think that kind of support, lends itself to creativity and, of course, writing as well.
That's incredible. That there's like investment and there's history of the library. I know everybody. I feel like the library is one of the most beloved thing. As someone who's somewhat new to the town, that seems to be something that's always in conversation, which is really cool to hear. Now, the other thing I hear a lot about is these book clubs, that there's all these different book clubs popping up, from banned book clubs to horror-themed ones and everything in between. Why do you think they've taken off so much? And for someone thinking of joining or starting one this summer, do you have any tips?
Definitely come to the library. Come see us because we have book kits, so we can get you a set of books for your book club and the questions to go with it. We'll do all the hard work for you. All you have to do is show up and read the book. I think book clubs are great because it's combining community and reading, and it's something that, if I read a book and you read a book, we're going to take different things away from that. And when we come together and talk about it, you're sharing your view of it and how you come to see it, and I do the same. We really understand each other a little bit better. I think that's the beautiful thing about books and how they bring us together and help us see one another's points of view and really feel that empathy for each other.
Yeah, books are, I think people have been talking about the death of books for the last 50 years, and it just never happens. They just become more and more popular. There's Book Talk on TikTok. There are, Oprah started with her book recommendations, but now there are so many. Reese Witherspoon has her book recommendations, and there's like the, Good Morning America or whoever, all these book recommendations. And then so everybody's talking about the books, everybody is interested in them. And so what better way to feed on that? It's just go to your friend's house and have a couple of glasses of wine and talk about the book.
Absolutely. Well, are there any summer book events, festivals, or programs we should know about coming up this season?
On a regular basis, the library and the Library Foundation have authors that come and talk. And so you can find information about, upcoming authors on the LFPL.org, our website. And so, I know that we have some coming up pretty soon, which you can find them on the website.
I have to ask, as librarians, this is just my own curious question. What is something that you can check out from the library that most people don't know about? What is the wildest thing you can check out?
Telescopes.
You beat me to it.
I like that you both thought that. So, what kind of telescopes are we talking about?
They're pretty fancy.
They are. They're really nice. They're kind of a tabletop telescope that was put together for us by the Louisville Astronomical Society. They generously donated 6 telescopes a few years ago, and they have checked out like 428 times or something in the last few years.
Wow.
So it's really nice. It's educational. It's fun. They're easy to operate. There's there's a little manual and everything that kind of explains what to do, and just take the family out and find someplace without light pollution, a real dark place. And you can see a lot. Like you can see like the rings of Jupiter and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Really well with these telescopes. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We should also probably add, we did just add sensory kits as well, available for checkout, that families can check out, take home, use with their kiddos, all different themes, and you can find out more about that on the website as well.
Before I let you go, what's a book that you're reading right now? And second, where would you suggest listeners go? I know we've talked about resources and tools or lists to look at for their summer reading beyond just now.
Well, NPR Books is a great place to go for book recommendations also. And New York Times book reviews, too, are great.
And what are you reading, Jody?
Well, I just finished Darkness Take My Hand by Dennis Lehane, which is not new, but it's a great crime novel. And God of the Woods by Liz Moore, hugely popular book. I would definitely recommend checking out.
And Jenny, you?
I just finished The Savage Noble Death of Babs Dion by John Curie. I loved it. It was wonderful. And I would say go talk to your local librarian at the public library and ask them for what they're reading and what they're into, because we can find some great stuff.
Well, Jenny, Jody, thanks so much for being here on Track.
Thank
you. Very much.
Jenny Lewis is the branch manager at the Middletown location of the Louisville Free Public Library, and Jody Hampton is the content manager for the Louisville Free Public Library, where he has worked for 15 years. On Track is a production of Louisville Public Media. The On Track production team includes Michelle Tyrene Johnson, Alex Biscardi, and Laura Ellis. Our music is by Kojin Toshiro. If you're just tuning in and you want to hear the full show, you can find it now at LouisvilleOnTrack.org or in your favorite podcast app. And let's continue the conversation. Is there something you want to hear about? Something that matters to your Kentuckiana experience? Let us know by sending us a text or giving us a call at 502-814-TALK or send an email to ontrack@lpm.org. I'm Aisha Jaffer, and remember, with the incoming heat, a good book's hard to beat. Until next time, you're on track with Louisville Public Media.
In honor of Military Appreciation Month, Verizon thought of a lot of different ways we could show our appreciation, like rolling out the red carpet, giving you your own personal marching band, or throwing a bumping shindig. At Verizon, we're doing all that in the form of special military offers. That's why, this month only, we're giving military and veteran families a $200 Verizon gift card and a phone on us, with a select trade-in and a new line on select unlimited plans. Think of it as our way of flying a squadron of jets overhead while launching fireworks. Now that's what we call a celebration, because we're proud to serve you. Visit your local Verizon store to learn more. $200 Verizon gift card requires smartphone purchase $799.99 or more with new line on eligible plan. Gift card sent within 8 weeks after receipt of claim. Phone offer requires $799.99 purchase with new smartphone line on Unlimited Ultimate or Postpaid Unlimited Plus. Minimum plan $80 a month with autopay plus taxes and fees for 36 months. Less $800 trade-in or promo credit applied over 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in must be from Apple, Google, or Samsung. Trade-in and additional terms apply.
Welcome to It Takes Energy, presented by Energy Transfer, where we talk all things oil and natural gas. Oil and gas drive our economy, ensure our country's security, and open pathways to brighter futures. The U.S. produces 13 million barrels of crude oil every day, enough to fill 800 Olympic swimming pools. But what is that oil used for? The gas we put in our cars is just the beginning. Nearly 50% of each barrel is refined into gasoline. Another 34% is refined into fuels like diesel and jet fuel, and the rest is used to make more than 96% of our everyday essentials, like the tennis shoes you wear, the cell phone you rely on, and medicines that help save lives. Look around, and you'll see the essential role oil and gas plays in our modern lives. Our world needs oil and gas, and people rely on us to deliver it. To learn more, visit ittakes.energy.com.